The Legend of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Part 1, Chapter 4, April. Written and performed by Joseph Chambers. Whoa, ow! One of the voices yelled. The other voice heard this and came running through the maze of pipes to join his comrade. What the heck is going on? It stopped moving as it saw April. Both figures exchanged looks of utter horror and then sprinted into the field of endless shadow. April gave chase to the boys, but found she was significantly slower than they were. One of the boys, whilst shooting through the sewers, asked the other, "Why do you think she is down here?" The other replied, "How should I know? We need to lose her, though. We cannot let the world see us." Father said, "Why can't you, just for once, do something other than what Dad says?" The first boy moaned irritably as they splashed through the various sewer tunnels with April left far behind. Only 1 minute later, April had lost both the boys and dropped her flashlight whilst running, and so was once again lost, drenched in sewer water and chilled to the bone, on a winter's night, in the dark, alone. It was at that moment when she noticed a dim dot of light on the floor ahead. She tentatively stepped towards the light and inspected it closer. It was no larger than a quarter coin. When she knelt down to examine it, she observed several things. It had a teal hue. Secondly, it was a drop of viscous glimmering fluid. And thirdly, there was more than one. She decided that anything odd could be a clue as to why mutants were rampaging in the sewers, so she followed the glowing dots onwards. Ahead of April, one of the boys examined his arm and cried theatrically, "Oh, dear God, I think that girl might have wounded me." "Seriously, Donatello, it's just a couple of scratches. It's not going to kill you," the other responded unsympathetically. The first replied impatiently, "No, but she might. Our blood glows in the dark, Shelfer Brains, and she could have easily followed the trail." Not too far behind them, April had followed the small dots for a few minutes when they had led her to a metal stepladder. She climbed this and reached a manhole cover which she opened with the crowbar and all her strength. She climbed through this to find an abandoned subway station. She thought that it made sense for these creatures to use dark, creepy and unused places where no one else would go. Certainly, the boy she had met had not wanted to be seen. The cracked walls and thick layers of dust covering everything sent shivers down her spine, and she found herself slightly compelled to scamper away back to her warm bed. Thankfully, her level of intrigue was too strong for any means of giving up, so she persevered. She found the dots went straight to the edge of the platform and stopped. Odd, as the place seemed long since forgotten and unlikely to host any passing trains. She climbed down gingerly onto the tracks and begun to wonder where she should go next. There must be more dots somewhere. She suspected they could not have jumped across the gap. Well, she really doubted it, but could not be certain. They were fast and, from what she could make out, muscular, so that implied potential physical strength, possibly great agility, and probably decent stamina. Who's to say they could not jump long distances too? Who's to say they could not fly, for that matter? Maybe wings were concealed under their shells. Human, turtle, eagle mutants, perhaps? Just as her imagination got away from her, she saw a light approaching. This was joined shortly by a noise. It was going extremely fast. She had no time to react to the approaching metal box that in less than 1 second would become the world's biggest bullet. She braced herself for the end, feeling every one of her senses screaming at her to do something, but knowing there was nothing that she could do. Then she felt a jolt and could have sworn she was flying. When she landed, she expected to be dead or at the very least seriously injured. She was neither. She was on the opposite platform, looking up at the tall figure of a boy. Except it wasn't an ordinary boy. "What do you think you are doing?" she heard his accomplice's voice yell from somewhere. Her senses were excruciatingly shaky, so she could not work out where the voice was coming from. She was going to die if I didn't do something. Would you have preferred she somehow walked under the train? Or are you under the delusion she can teleport out of the way of vehicles going 150 miles per hour? The turtle next to her yelled. I could have sworn this place was abandoned. Trains should not be coming through here, especially not at such speed. Oh well, I guess I must be mistaken. He then turned to her and asked, Are you okay, ma'am? April responded, Yes, thank you. That was stupidly brave. Sorry, you shouldn't have to have had risked your life for me. April muttered a little dazed. And please call me April, not ma'am. Hello, April. My name is Donatello, but 3 out of the 4 life forms I know call me Donnie. He then offered her a free-fingered hand. She took this and pulled herself off the hard and cold concrete. The other turtle then used a grappling hook to cling to a crusty pillar on the other platform and swung himself over so he could join his companion. Oh, that explains how you... And the tracks and... Wow! April gazed in wonderment at the two of them. She was very aware she was staring and looking from one to the other rather rapidly. The one who had saved her life appeared to be taller, but spoke in a kinder tone of voice than his counterpart. She couldn't tell much more than that in the dark. Quite unexpectedly, the other turtle, who had not introduced himself, pushed her against the wall, and from 2 scabbards, attached to his shell by one shoulder strap on each shoulder, unsheathed twin katana swords. He thrust one to April's throat, and the other pointing outwards behind his back to stop Donatello from interfering. Donatello was meanwhile yelling, Leonardo! At the top of his voice. Leonardo ignored this. Who are you? He loudly interrogated. Why are you here? I need answers now. Leave her alone! Screamed Donatello. Please, he added desperately. Leonardo lowered the katana to April's throat, but kept up the one keeping Donatello away. Who are you? April O'Neil, she answered. And why are you here? Leonardo questioned. One of your, friends met me on the surface, so I went looking for him. I was just curious. I never meant any harm.